The human tongue is number 4 of the 5 senses that we have. Again, William C. de Quillette is here from El Monte. You know, your tongue is about 4 inches long and weigh about 2 ounces. Our tongue cannot flick out to catch insect the way frog's tongue is doing. Yeah. Also, our tongue cannot feel like a serpent that can walk through the dark caverns. But our tongue has many more jobs to do in our body. So I can roll my tongue around in the mouth so that it is evenly ground, that food that we take in, and make it acceptable to our stomach. My tongue keeps my domain clean. It's just like a toothpick. It assists in swallowing. I call it catapulting, like in the olden days we youngsters do. Food in my throat is a critical issue, of course, of life. Yeah? So, the rear portion of my tongue, my wife has difficulties with it, but there is kind of a hump, and it just catapults all the food in the throat through that hump that I have. So, but the tongue also have another matter, and that means you can express your emotions, you can talk and make speeches, and today it's even capable of flexing my tongue in different forms, like a baby grows up 2 years old, make noises, but you have to educate that tongue so that they can talk, so can we. Yeah. And it also keeps of the way of my teeth, which is rarely that I bit on my tongue. So the tongue surface contains little nipples. They say more than 100,000 of them. They call it taste buds. And scientists completely map my taste buds in 4 different main taste buds that blend onto thousands of colors in my mouth. So there's a sweet, sour, bitter, and sour. On the side, bitter. On the rear, and I would say, I tested myself, and some books have written about that the salt is in the tip of your tongue, and then right there is the sweet. But according to the scientists, it's that sweet first, and then salt, and then bitter, and on the side, the sour taste. But still, to me, it's on the tip of your tongue, that salt. But because in the Bible also been said, it's used, this salt covenant, number 1. You can see that if I go on in the Word of God, yeah? And then you have a sweet covenant, and you have a sour covenant, and also a bitter covenant. That's all in the Word of God, yeah? So, I said 4 taste buds, yeah? The salt covenant is like this. It says, what is a covenant anyway of salt? Salt never spoils. Salt never decays. Salt adds flavor. Salt melts ice. It's all symbolic of our eternal covenant with God. The salt covenant in the Bible is right in the beginning of the Bible. So a symbolic covenant is a secret agreement between God and the human beings. So sharing salt is sharing life. In ancient time, on the wedding day, that means that two people become one. And you read it in Leviticus chapter 2, verse 13, we can read that the Lord honored the salt covenant, that you cannot break it. That's why you cannot get married and then leave your wife. Here is in Leviticus 2, verse 13, and every oblation of the meat offering, salt dough, seasoned with salt. The meat offering is a food offering. When you get together and eat together, it must be salty, of course, yeah? So don't forget salt when you eat. Otherwise, it will be saltless. Neither shalt thou suffer the salt of the covenant, this is covenant of salt, made with David, of thy God, to be lacking from the meat offering. With all thy offerings thou shalt offer salt. So what you do when you offer something to the Lord, offerings in whatever it may be, giving to the Lord, it always has to be tasty with salt, because it's a covenant between God and man. But also is that a covenant between the future bride and groom. That's what they do in the Old Testament. So they bring two little pouches of salt, or little bags of salt. One is for the future bride and other for the future bridegroom. They put it together in the presence of a rabbi, presence of an authority. They put it together, mix it, and then they have to take a part of the salt in the husband's bag, future husband, and another bag for the bridegroom. So bride and bridegroom have the salt from each other, because you mix that salt, and that means you cannot break it. That's what our tongue comes to the front by using it. You shall never leave each other till death depart. So that's the covenant that is in the Old Testament. There's a tongue is a tongue that you use to promise each other, made an agreement with God in the middle, and the two on the side of the Lord. Remember, salt melt ice. And this is a part that I really like that, because we come from Holland. We've seen that they always put salt on the streets when it's slippery, black ice, what they call. So that salt melted, and I said, Lord, this is wonderful. When our love for each other, when we're growing older and older, then oftentimes because of the nature of us, two natures, not the same, so sometimes it can grow cold, just like the ice. And the tongue that is with salt, that you can use it. It means to me, talk to each other about all the issues of life, and that keeps husband and wife together. So salt is the solution. Have salt in your mouth, the Bible says. Grace and salt to bring flavor in your home. The Bible said in Luke chapter 14, verse 35, it says, salt is good. And we have to admit that salt is good. Mark chapter 9, verse 49 say the same thing. In Matthew 5, verse 13, it said, you are the salt of the world. So you prevent a marriage life, you must be a good example for your children. As the salt is in your mouth, it's always pleasant and wonderful to be with your family. So every tension, every difficulty, you have to be an example to be that salt. Because Jesus said so, you are the salt of the world. There's much more, of course, verses in the Bible, but let it be enough for today. So it is a wedding ceremony, the salt covenant.